Ever had a boss who thought they could control your life? Even outside of work? Mine did. He fired my girlfriend out of pure spite. So I sent his wife the proof of every dirty thing he'd ever done. And that, my friends, was the day his empire of lies came crashing down. If you've ever dreamed of serving justice to someone who wronged you, hit that like button, subscribe to Revenge Radio, and get ready for one of the most satisfying stories of karma you'll ever hear. This story takes me back a few years, back when I was working for a manufacturing company in the Midwest, the kind of place where the machines never stop humming, and the gossip spreads faster than the smell of fresh paint. My boss, let's call him Mark, was an alpha to his bones. Sharp haircut, always barking orders. He was the kind of man who didn't just like control, he needed it. The way other people need oxygen. He'd micromanage every project, every conversation, every rumor. And if you crossed him, he'd make sure you regretted it. I'd been there about 2 years when I started seeing Emily, a sweet, smart woman who worked at one of our branch offices a few hours away. We met during a training session, and somehow that long-distance thing just worked. We talked late at night, made weekend trips, and for the first time in ages, I actually felt happy. But happiness doesn't go unnoticed, especially by men like Mark. Mark found out about us one afternoon when we were on a video call. He made some sarcastic comment about keeping work professional. At first, I brushed it off, but I should have known better. When Mark fixated on something, it became his game. You see, Mark was married to another employee in accounting, but the man couldn't stay faithful to save his life. He had this disgusting hobby, taking photos of himself with other women. Yeah, those kinds of photos. And the worst part? He'd show them off like trophies on the production floor, grinning, boasting, like some kind of predator who thought he was untouchable. The staff whispered about it, but no one dared to report him. He had friends in upper management. He was a golden boy, the rainmaker. And me, I was just another guy trying to keep his job. But then he crossed the line. On his next business trip to Emily's office, Mark decided to drop by and meet her in person. She told me later that he'd invited her for a drink. Made it sound like a casual chat about work. But it wasn't. He cornered her, made suggestive comments, tried to put his hand on her shoulder. And when she rejected him, his ego couldn't handle it. Within a week, she was fired. Official reason? Performance issues. Real reason? Mark's bruised pride. When she told me, her voice was shaking. I'd never heard her cry before. I wanted to storm into his office. Scream, break something, anything, but I knew how that would end. He'd spin it, twist it, and somehow I'd be next. So I swallowed my rage and said nothing, but inside I made a promise. Revenge, I learned, isn't always about speed. Sometimes it's about timing. Over the next few months, I watched, listened, waited. Mark kept up his usual routine, the arrogant laughs, the dirty jokes, the flirting. But I noticed something. He was careful about where he kept his photos. He'd never take them home. He couldn't risk his wife finding them. So he kept them in his office, locked away. That's when I knew where to strike. One Saturday, I volunteered for overtime. The office was practically empty, just me and the cleaning crew. When the cleaning lady unlocked Mark's office, I strolled over, pretending to measure blueprints. She smiled, said, "Just close the door when you're done." And just like that, opportunity opened its door. My heart was pounding as I walked behind his desk. I could hear the hum of the air conditioner, the distant clatter of the cleaning cart. Every sound felt magnified, but I kept going. I opened his drawers one by one, and then there it was, a thick stack of photos, maybe 4 inches tall, faces, poses. Mark, always grinning, with women who definitely weren't his wife. I didn't think twice. I slipped them all into my briefcase and walked out like nothing happened. For weeks, I said nothing, did nothing, just waited. Then one Monday, I overheard Mark bragging about another trip he had to take. Out of town for 3 days. Perfect. When that Friday came, I left for lunch. Except this time, My lunch break was a little detour. I drove 2 hours to his hometown, found the nearest post office, and mailed a small envelope. No return address, no note, just a dozen of those photos, each one showing Mark's face crystal clear, with women who all had dark or red hair. His wife, for the record, was blonde. And then I drove home, calm, quiet, almost serene, like a man who just buried something toxic. By Monday morning, the whispers began. Mark didn't show up to work. Tuesday, still no sign. By Wednesday, his wife had filed for divorce. Turns out, those photos made their way from her hands to her lawyer's desk. And from there, straight to court. Rumor has it, she took him for everything. The house, the cars, the money, even his reputation, gone overnight. And as for me, I came to work. Same as always. Quiet, professional. Nobody suspected a thing. It took time, patience, and a bit of luck. But justice found its way. Emily, the woman he tried to destroy, is now my wife. We still laugh about it sometimes. Not because it was funny, but because karma has perfect aim when you stay patient. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button and tell us in the comments. What's the most satisfying revenge you've ever seen? And of course, subscribe to Revenge Radio for more stories like this, where karma always finds its way home.